Ladies and gentlemen, my mic works today. Holy crap. Yeah, it works. Welcome to Loreweek. Before I get anywhere, before anyone donates, I want to give you an update on LoreCraft, as always. As of right now, I have finished scripting all of Legion. I have finished the voice recording of all of Legion. I have not finished the voice editing. After editing the audio, I have to capture the footage. After capturing the footage, I have to edit the footage. So those are the 3 steps left for Legion, okay? That's where we're at with LoreCraft. I got it out! I managed to get out a news tidbit before anybody did anything. My goodness. I will also admit, so right now, the odds of... immediately. The odds of me coming back to streaming within the next week are 0. However, starting at about next, I'd say Monday, so a week from tomorrow, the odds kind of slowly start getting higher and higher. I will, of course, give some kind of advance warning when I actually know when I'm going to be coming back to streaming, but I just wanted to give you guys a sort of a vague schedule because I sat down last night and did a hard look at said schedule, and like I said, sometime next week is looking more and more likely. Because I do still have to finish, after I finish the LoreCraft thing, I've already committed to finishing all of the editing and processing for the theater, because I want that done and ready to go. And I want to finish the Parish videos, which, honestly, that actually isn't going to take me all that long. So, that's my work schedule right now. That's what I'm looking at. So, having now gotten the show news out, I only got 2 subs in that, so thank you, S.A. Ross, very much. As always. And thank you, Ashlam, very, very much. Somehow, for supporting me for a full year. Thank you. Very, very much. You are awesome, ma'am. If you happen to know where you want to put that, please let me know. Remember, that is a special anniversary thing, which I rate as higher than normal. So you can put that towards anything you want. It could just be... It could happen. In 5 minutes, it could be in your stomach. By the way, please apologize for my breathing today. It's still summer. I'm still having trouble breathing. That's just my life. That's just how it is. No. There it is. Yeah, this is probably going to be true for at least a couple more months, to be completely honest. That's just how that is. Breath of Fire 3. Press A. Ross. And Ashlam's super mega fancy special anniversary sub. Yeah, my electric bill has been slowly climbing up. In fact, you might hear I've finally, as of I think like last Wednesday or something like that, finally turned on my 4th fan. Now that sounds like a joke, but I've got a fan out there and a fan right there, neither of which you would hear. I'll pretty much always have that fan on. That's the super expensive fancy fan that's really quiet. But that fan's kind of loud, and what I have here, so my AC vent is right there on the wall, right? And that's where the AC comes out in order to cool this room. So I have a fan immediately in front of it. It's a tourney fan, whatever those are called. And that helps to distribute that cold air. And that's the emergency fan. I only turn that one on when it really gets hot. And here we are. Heat waves. Yay. You got it, Ashlam. That is an anniversary sub towards God of War. Trilogy. And now I gotta bow. I'm gonna start bowing immediately. Thank you, Hazardous. Ah, much obliged. Much appreciated, as always. Thank you. And I got to bow before I even looked at the donation. I forgot to... It's so much... I actually did get an episode edited this morning. I was really happy about that. Had to cram a little bit, but I did it. And I was like, hey, I did this, and I got all my work done for the moment. The answer, of course, to that is no, that actually isn't what happened. Because I forgot to put up the current topics. We do have a couple topics this week. Let's see here. So we've got... this. Very professional. I knew it, Aslam. You'd secretly rather eat rusted glass than watch my show. There we go. Okay, there's our actual topics. We're already done with show news, like I said. And I missed something from Sean. Thank you, Sean. Ever and always appreciate. I miss it quite a bit, SRS. I'm looking forward to being done with the LoreCraft, the World of LoreCraft series for now. I actually just answered that question, Village Idiot. Sometime by next week. Not this week, but next week is most likely. So there's the summer. If you want more details, go watch the beginning of the stream. The list is not showing up for anyone because I deleted it. It's gone forever. Destroyed by the Empire. Which would be really ironic if you think about it. Thank you very much, Doom Rider. Much appreciate as always. So I guess we could turn that into a topic. Sure, why not? Because you're not the first person to ask me about the WoW FF14 thing. Give me a second, Sean. Give me a second. We'll put it right here. How's that sound? We'll do it that way. Hang on, now I gotta write down the 7 Sirens thing. Give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah, I have a web. Did you know I have a website? It's this brand new thing. You've probably never heard of it. Okay, so that's Mass Effect 3. And Shantae, 7 Sirens. I've actually been kind of following the Avalon thing a little bit. No, you're good, Village Idiot. You're good. I don't mind. I don't mind. I'm just saying, if you want the full details, I don't want to repeat myself in full, so that's why I put that stuff at the beginning, so people could just watch the first, minute of the VOD and not have to bother with me sitting here rambling for 20 minutes. So, yeah, it's a birth by sleep thing, Retu. So, random news, really quick. I actually only have 2 tidbits of random news. The first is Mo Elvis, which is putting $1 towards Mafia 2. Thank you, Mo Elvis, very much. Yes, I feel like I just said this. Did you know the list has been destroyed by the Empire? Should I make that joke again? I need another joke for that one. No, Michael. There is not. Let me check the log. Let me check the log, because I don't see it on my chat. There it is. Zelda Block, how are you? How did I miss that one? Whatever. Thank you, Michael. Javier. Demon Hunter. As always, much appreciated. I will put that towards the Zelda Block. Okay, so that's towards Mafia 2. And Michael Javier Demon Hunter is going towards Zelda Block. The list is gone forever, and it's totally never coming back. And there's... Yeah, okay. Apparently, I have to repeat this? So, for the past 2 months, the list hasn't been getting updated. This is because we have a rather substantial and significant flaw and a series of bugs in the script that takes the information from the spreadsheet and puts it into a format the website can understand. Make sense? So, the actual list, which is the spreadsheet I'm staring at right over there on my second monitor, is absolutely up to date and is still being kept, blah, 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 blah. But the list that's on the website, I just deleted because not only was it completely out of date by months at this point, but it was actually showing inaccurate and misleading information. So, but the list is still there, and I'm still keeping track of it, and yada, yada, yada. So, at some point that will get fixed, and at some point it'll get updated. I don't know when. I don't know how to fix that. If I was to go ahead and try to get the list onto the website manually, which is what I used to do, that would literally take me hours, and I don't have hours right now, so not happening. I have been keeping up to date the recently funded thing and the queue, so make of that what you will. And thank you, Tokyo Vampire, very much. I will put that towards Yakuza Kiwami, too. Alright, random news. So, first of all, some of you have actually already reached out to me and asked me about the EA thing. The reason I haven't talked about it, the reason it's not a full topic up there, and the reason I'm not talking about it today is because the situation is still developing. And I don't actually like to talk about situations while they're still developing, because there's a whole lot of with regards to them. Thank you, Colin Peluso, very much. I do hope the LASIK actually works out well for you. I couldn't do that. That just sounds insane to me, but my grandmother did it. It worked fine for her. I've put that towards the Zelda blog. And thank you, Goldtech. As always, appreciate. I will put that towards Dishonored 1, specifically. Yes, so... some people aren't aware of this. EA is... Oh my god, I'm never going to be able to get a word out. Valiant Hearts. Thank you, Silver Mask. Very much. I will put that towards Valiant Hearts. A group of hackers, let's be clear, these are malevolent hackers. These are not hacktivists. These are not people who are trying to make a point. These are people who are trying to steal money from a company. Recently managed to get in, almost laughably easy, into EA servers and steal a bunch of stuff, and now they're trying to ransom this. First they tried to sell it on the dark web. That didn't work. And so now they're trying to ransom EA for the information, and they're threatening to leak the information and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, it's a developing situation. By every account I could see, EA certainly has some culpability here, because they're the ones who needed to upgrade their security and refused to do so, because that costs money, and why would we spend maintenance on something that's just silly? I'd rather just let the entire building collapse. But anyways, nevertheless, these hacktivists, or excuse me, they're not hacktivists, these hackers can go to hell, because they're dicks, right? Like, I don't care how bad WoW gets, that doesn't justify, death threats, you know what I mean? Same concept. Anyways, that's all. We'll see. We'll see where it's going. Another thing that's another we'll see, which is why this isn't random news, is Netflix has announced they're going to add video games to... So I should probably explain what I mean by that. According to what it said, again, this is developing, so this is why this is, who knows. But according to this, they are going to try and start developing slash producing, publishing, excuse me, video games. Now, I will say this. When they put the Telltale games on Netflix, that actually made perfect sense. In fact, that was pretty legit. I know people who actually got to enjoy several Telltale games because of the fact that they were on Netflix and were able to play it via that function. So, with provisos and asterisks, this could be a good idea. Now, they're not going to do that because anybody who's ever paid attention to Netflix's financial models knows that their approach and strategy is always to shotgun things. If you don't know what I mean by shotgunning thing... Alright, so there's 50 different things that all go flying out, the pellets, from the I can't remember what it's called, the slug or whatever, and some of them might actually hit, and some of them might actually stick. That's the shotgun approach, and that has always been Netflix's approach. So rather than sitting down and thinking, okay, let's put this game here and this game here, what they're probably going to do is just come up with a few bajillion things, and in all honesty, there will probably be some good stuff there. After all, there are some good Netflix shows, too. That's how that system works. There are some good Netflix shows because they shotgun them. Then there's the other 80%. How the heck, Valerian? Yeah, video games make money, right? That's how that works? Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, that's why this is random news, because... Although, as I do have to say, and I'm reading directly from the article here, Netflix has long pointed out that its competition extends beyond traditional TV and movie companies that go heads-to-head with it, and the company repeatedly calls out gaming phenomenons like Fortnite. So they're probably going to Fail miserably. Anyways, moving on. Let's get to some actual topics. So you asked me to talk about WoW. Sure, we'll do that. Why not? I feel like I already have, but that's probably because I've been hanging out on Discord while I get some work done. So allow me to repeat myself. This will now be 3 weeks in a row I've talked about WoW during Loreweek. Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft are MMOs. They are MMORPGs specifically that both have, at a surface level, are the same games, right? They're both developer-generated content. They both require a subscription fee to play. They both involve action-y kind of combat, right? You run around, you hit buttons, there's a global cooldown, etc. However, that is the most surface skin layer comparison possible. Anybody with a functioning brain will tell you that Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft are completely different games in every way. The way that they approach their content production, the way that they approach their cycle, the way they approach their quest design, the way that they structure the storytelling, the way that they design their raid concepts, the way they design their actual encounter fights, the way that they do everything is completely different. Now, the reason I point that out is because it really does help to emphasize why the two games shouldn't be seen as direct competitors to each other, even though they technically are. What, didn't you... Oh, shoot, I forgot to update the thing. You didn't see it, Twister. Because you weren't here. It's two things I forgot to do this morning while I was getting work done. Go figure. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Because of the fact that both involve content cycles, by focusing on... No, I just didn't type that one, Michael. Both are focused on content development cycles that mean there are gaps in content. The two don't actually compete with each other. Not really. One of them... Let me phrase this as simply as I can. There's a long-standing fallacy that you can only sub to one thing at a time. Now you're probably thinking, but you yourself have said that, Lore. It's why you're against so many different streaming services and gaming services. It's not what I mean. Let's presume for a moment that you want to play Final Fantasy XIV. So what you do is you play it and you sub for a month. And you go through and you finish playing, and then you're like, all right, cool. And then you unsub because you're done. Then you sub to WoW, and you play for a month or 2 or 3, however long, and then you unsub because you're done. They're not actually in direct competition with each other. They're hitting completely different markets, and they're going for completely different niches. WoW certainly has its own thing going on, and WoW, I mean, I could really go in depth into this because I don't want to. But the long and the short of this is, it's not like people are leaving WoW for 14. Oh, that's not true. Obviously, people are leaving WoW for 14. But that has nothing to do with the comparison of the two games as they are. Let me go ahead and elaborate on something that is currently a cultural zeitgeist, and that is the fact that WoW sucks, and Mr. Red just subbed, apparently. Thank you very, very much for 2 years of support, Mr. Red. As always, appreciated. Yeah, that's actually not a bad way to put that, Village Idiot. Final Fantasy XIV, don't think too much about this, but Final Fantasy XIV is soccer, football, and WoW is football. Diablo 1, you got it. That's a bad comparison, and I shouldn't make it, because then people are going to look into it, and I don't mean it that way. So let's just make this nice and generic. FF14 is one sport, and WoW is another sport. Is that better? Now you can fill in the blanks however you want to. Because the idea is, obviously, you can watch both. You can be a fan of both. You don't have to be. And one might not... What appeals to one might not appeal to the other. You with me so far? Now, that being stated, there is something significant here. And that is cultural perception. The mere fact that I'm getting people who are asking me this question is really all that needs to be said about this. But there is a large, for lack of a better way to put it, media push right now towards the idea that WoW sucks and Ginger Overseer is awesome. I mean, you are awesome. That's not even a joke. But WoW sucks and FF14 is awesome. and everyone should abandon WoW and switch over to FF14. Now, that is, as it usually is, dismissive. It doesn't really look at the full situation. It doesn't really appreciate or understand or conceptualize everything that's going on. Instead, it's just trying to push an angle because there is blood in the water, to quote Mr. Red on this matter. Now, the thing is, WoW certainly has been screwing up a fair amount lately. And this isn't one thing, if that makes sense. This is more like 7 things that are all kind of smashing together in different ways. Now, I've actually already I've already specifically gone into detail on several of the things that World of Warcraft has been sucking at. If you want details, go watch the last several lore weeks I've done, because I've talked about WoW every lore week for like a month now. And I have actually gone into detail rather than giving large, sweeping, dismissive arguments. But, not calling anyone out here. Actually, I totally am. But if I might be so bold, the fact that there is this push means that what we have is a little bit of a snowball effect. That there are several people who are looking into the switch from WoW to, not the Nintendo Switch, switching from WoW to 14, because people are pushing the idea of switching from WoW to 14, which is pushing the idea of snowball, snowball, snowball. Now, I do very firmly think that World of Warcraft is failing on at least one objective level, and that is customer relations. Now, customer relations is a very difficult and dangerous field, and I mean that sincerely, especially nowadays, but it always has been. Oh yeah, you're right, I didn't say Ross. I've forgotten to do that. Okay, no joke. The moment I pulled up my comments, my recent comments on my videos, the first thing I saw, which is a new comment that I haven't read yet, is, and I quote, "I know this is a very cliche and common comment you may receive throughout your videos here, but I genuinely appreciate your content and hard work you put into these videos. I sincerely believe your channel deserves far more subs and views for the quality of content you provide." I didn't plan that. That's just the top comment right now, or rather, the more recent comment, the most recent comment. Anyways, there you go. Positivity comment of the week. Okay. So, Blue of Alex gives the summary, but the problem here, like I said, customer relations. Now, Activision could go to hell. Let's just go ahead and make that very clear. And it's not like Blizzard is completely innocent in this either. One of the things that Blizzard used to do very well was customer service. No, really. Not customer service, customer relations. I want you to imagine for a moment that you have an issue with WoW. And you reach out, and someone's like, "Hey," and someone responds to you. Now, they may not agree with you, and they may not, do anything about it, but someone responds to you. Someone actually bothers to make the effort to reach out to the community on a semi-regular basis, and apparently Cubic hasn't watched my show for 2 months. I'll get back to that, Cubic. Can someone in chat answer Cubic, please? Because of the fact that the effort was made and that people whose entire job it was to simply reach out to customers and try to at least acknowledge them or respond to them or listen to their concerns or maybe say, well, this is where the pipeline's going or whatever, that effort was something Blizzard used to be very good at. It was something that was a regular aspect of Blizzard's model, for lack of a better way to put it. This goes all the way back to Warcraft 2 at this point. Literally. It's part of what led into StarCraft, if you remember. I believe I talked about that. I'm not actually sure off the top of my head. Kira White Noise. I can't spell. It's okay. It's not loading well because I deleted it, Kira White Noise. You can put it towards whatever, but I'll presume you want to still do dealer's choice, in which case, thank you very much. Always appreciate. because and this is the thing. This is such a simple thing, really. They don't do this anymore. Effort is no longer made to reach out to the player base. Effort is no longer made to make regular efforts and consequences and thoughts and responses, and we've been looking at this and we've been dealing with this and yada 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 yada, right? So that, I think, right there is probably the biggest, most the largest rock in the snowball. Let's put it that way. The thing that really started pushing this, because people have a tendency to feel like they aren't appreciated or that their voice doesn't matter if no one ever responds to them. Even if their voice does matter, which I don't know if it does. I mean, I assume it doesn't. I assume Activision doesn't give a damn about the players. But even if we are to presume that they do, it is easy to understand why players would feel like they aren't relevant, would feel why they aren't significant. Because no one's bothering to make them feel that way. No one's doing that reach. This is such an obvious concept if you think about it, because this applies in real life. How many of you have ever been in a situation where you have a friend or a loved one or a family member or a child or a parent, and they're just kind of, like you do something for them and they don't even really say thank you, and they just don't seem to acknowledge the effort and work you put into it. They don't seem to care, you know? They do, maybe, they might, but they don't show it. How does that feel? Now, I know that's different because that's a personal relation between a person and another person, but you get it, right? Now, hang on, I gotta write down a sub from Cord that I saw. Cord's Jedi Knight. Cord JK, as we like to say. Or just kidding. Thank you, Cord, very much. As always. And so this is just opinion. I don't know. This is speculation. But I think that is the biggest thing that Actiblizzard has done, past tense, wrong with the current approach. By pretty much ensuring that their players feel like payers and not players, I think that they are causing issues, and I think those issues have officially, as of this moment in time, reached the snowball. It is now going down the hill, getting more snow. We'll see what they do about it. Now, do you want to hear my prediction? By the way, Mark Kern can go to hell. Can I just say that? He's a dick, to be as nice about that as I possibly can. But I have seen his rant about that. That leak, which I'm not even going to quote, is total bullcrap. But his rant did have several points which were valid, because broken clock, yada yada. I've lost my train of thought. Where was I? This is what I think is going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen right now is Actiblizzard is going to look at the current metrics and say, well, we need to turn this around. We need to restructure this. All right, what have we done now? I've got it. One of the reasons people are upset was because of the long delay between launch of Shadowlands and 9.1, right? You know, so I think it's the fifth largest gap, in between content patches WoW's ever had. So, okay, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and rush the next patch. So we're gonna crack the whips, everyone, get that work out. Just hurry, don't do your polishing passes. Don't really spend all the time and effort necessary to craft a good story. Don't really put the effort and work into the animation department or the raid design or the boss design or the quest design or any of the things that actually take time. Just rush that patch out as quickly as possible. Now, I don't know if that's true. We'll find out in a few months, but that is my current prediction for what Actiblizzard's response is going to be to this. By the way, I mentioned that whole making the players feel like the matter thing. If there is one thing that FF14 does objectively better than WoW, it is its community outreach. The FF14 devs and the FF14 people reach out to the FF14 community all the time. Constantly. It is a regular thing. It's not as regular as, like, say, you know, some of the smaller MMOs or smaller indie devs who will, you know, personally talk to individual players, but they do what they can given the size of what they're dealing with. So, thank you, Noel, very much. Always appreciate. If you know where you want to put that, please let me know. Yeah, they do letters from the producers regularly. They have their little live streams where they just kind of share a couple of things on top of that. Yada, yada, yada. They do all kinds of stuff. This has nothing to do with Asmongold. I mean, it does, because he is a mover and a shaker of the community, and he is certainly his... How do I say this? It's impossible for someone with his player base, his viewer base, excuse me, to not make a splash. Like, it's actually impossible. If he was to suddenly decide to start streaming Raid Shadow Legends, that would make a splash, because he just has that many people following him, right? So his decision to switch over has absolutely contributed to everything I talked about earlier with the snowball. Hey, Larian. Noel, I didn't get what you want to put that towards, other than the fact that you're awesome. Yeah. For the record, I actually don't have a lot of nice things to say about Asmongold, which is why I'm mostly keeping my mouth shut on that part. But, yeah. Okay, so... I think that's it for WoW for Work. I don't know what other... Does anyone have any questions about that, I suppose? Since this was kind of a prompted topic, I didn't prep anything for it. I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay. What comes after the rush patch? Another rushed patch. You think I'm joking? I mean, let's be honest. So, first of all, Beard. Thank you, Record Spirit, very much. As always, if you know where you want to put that, please let me know. I was going to say something. Do I think WoW will ever be dethroned? Pass. That's like asking me if I think we'll break the lightspeed barrier inside my lifetime. I just don't have enough information. Yes, I know what you're going to bring up, don't. 3. Right. That's what I was going to say. There are 3 broad possibilities here. Possibility number 1. Active Blizzard will somehow miraculously turn it around, and WoW will update and actually do the proper design elements they need to do, rather than throwing together things without actually thinking about it, and all the stuff I've been talking about for the last few weeks, and yada yada yada. And yay. So, woo, they'll turn it around. They'll pull an ARR, to put it simply. Option number 2, they will do nothing whatsoever and just keep dinosauring their way forwards, you know, dinosaur mentality, until the end of time, or until the servers, until finally it becomes unprofitable. Or 3, 3 is kind of an interesting one. They will kind of keep walking forwards, lumberingly, until it reaches the point where Active Blizzard decides that it is no longer profitable to keep it going, and they will pull the plug preemptively. These are the 3 broad possibilities. There's nuances and specifics here, but that's it. That's option number 1, Michael. Wow, Valerian. It's okay. He needs those millions, those hundreds of bagrillions of dollars. It's relevant. The funny thing about all of this is, if I could just semi-rant for just a moment, this is something I discovered decades ago, but is something that still weirds me out. From the perspective of the individual, it's so obvious what needs to be done here. WoW needs to get its act in gear, right? Now, let's ignore Active Blizzard for a moment. Let's just focus on this one game. World of Warcraft is still a decently good product. There is still good content there. There is still good quest design. There is still good raid design, blah, 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 blah. But they need to get their act in gear because what's happening is they have been lumbering forward by momentum for so long that they haven't bothered to iterate. Right? Because WoW's always been an iterative game. In fact, there's a reason we used to call it Blizzard of Borg, and that was a positive thing. Because what would happen is Kaon would sub to Xenogears, thank you very, very much, and then I would get interrupted by Sierra Mike. 091. We didn't put it towards anything, but thank you very much. Yeah, you can tell I've been working on this LoreCraft series long enough by the fact that you're probably going to start being able to watch me when I go back to streaming, Sierra Mike. WoW used to be WoW Blizzard of Borg. What they would do is they would look at other ideas that other gaming companies innovated and try to iterate on that and codify it within their own game. Usually WoW, but not always. This also hit StarCraft 2, back when StarCraft 2 was new. This also hit Diablo 3, back when Diablo 3 was new. So they kept grabbing for, like, this is why we called it Blizzard of Borg. They would assimilate, like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. And they kept taking these ideas and doing better implementations of it. Do you think transmog came from WoW? I'll tell you the MMO transmog came from Lotro. But Lotro didn't implement it anywhere near as well as WoW because Lotro innovated it. Yeah, Blizzard's thing has never been innovation, going all the way back to Warcraft 1. Blizzard's thing has always been polish. They've stopped doing that. So from an individual perspective, it's so obvious what needs to happen. Get your act together, start really thinking about what you could do to change and update and adapt, and really polish your game, right? So why don't they? Well, that's because the perspective of the individual is, let's make the best game possible. But the perspective of the board meeting of people who are in suits, shut up, who are all sitting around trying to figure out what to do with regards to the product and how to move forward with it, don't care about putting out the best product possible. They don't care about putting out the best game possible. They care about making the most money possible. And making the most money only requires spending the least to make the most. It's a very simple formula. At least if you're an idiot. Hi, Metal Force. I just answered that question, Pika. I have no idea, Riker's Beard. Really, I don't. I'm not even sure I care, as weird as that may sound. Because as long as at least some people who are going to 14 actually like it, I'm down. Yeah, no kidding, Diesel Edge. Sorry, I hate to turn this into yet another rant about economics. I blame the fact that the current economic model of the quarterly report affects every aspect of all of society ever. It's hard to talk about anything without tracing the source back to that problem. So I do apologize. I'm sure you're tired of hearing me about it. I don't want to bang on the same point over and over, but that is why they don't do that. That is why they're not going, they're almost assuredly not going to overhaul WoW. Fix things, figure out their problems, get their act together, and start polishing. That is almost assuredly why they're not going to do that. Because there's a bunch of people in suits thinking, well, what's the benefit of that? How much money can we make off of that? And there's this one person over there. It's a short dude, right? Got really thick glasses. Hi, Melichor. And he's like, all right, well, you know. He talks like a no for some reason. You know, what we could do is we could try and put out the best product possible. Like, really take a moment and pause and then absolutely spend our time and effort carefully crafting this story arc that we've got going right now for Shadowlands. And we could go ahead and make sure that we have a new system in place that is going to be more enjoyable for the players on a large scale rather than constantly trying to funnel players into the raid section. And this, and that, and then this and that, you know, specifics. I actually do have ideas. I don't want to bore you with them. So these specific things, and then in so doing, we'll make this huge splash and get all that attention, all that negative attention will turn into positive attention, because that is how that works. If you are currently the heel, I think, I'm trying to remember my wrestling terms, and you flip to good, It's like it's effectively mathematically turning all your negative press into positive press and then magnifying it. Is it the face? Like I said, I don't remember my wrestling terms. I apologize. I used to know this. So if they were able to make a huge splash, like with their next patch or their next expansion, they would turn all of this around. And I mean that. All I need to point to is everything ever. How many times has a company done something scummy or terrible, and people are like, ah, and then they push out something good, and all of that negativity turns into positivity? I'm not going to name examples, but that has happened many times just within this year. And so all of those suits are going to look at that guy, and then it's going to be that meme where they throw him out the window. Now, hang on, I gotta scroll up because I had two large comments there. And I didn't want to lose my train of thought in the middle of that. It looks like Valerian agrees with me. That is an excellent question, Hazardous. To be completely honest with you, I don't know. I know how Novo rich tend to spend their time. You know, people who think they're rich, but they kind of aren't. That's not really Novo rich. Novo rich refers to people who are recent money, and that's a whole other political thing. People who think they're wealthy and actually aren't. People who pretend they are or act like they are, who are probably drowning in debt, who have nice houses with nice lawns, that kind of people, right? Assholes. What? I'll tell you exactly what those kind of people do, because those people follow such a pattern, it's funny. They go out and play tennis, and then they go golfing, you know, hit a few rounds, and then they hit the bar, then they come home and they grill. Now, for the record, I actually enjoy tennis and golfing and grilling. I'm not a bar person. And no judgment if that's what you want to do with your spare time. But my point is that that's what they do. They do the same damn things, whatever, whenever they want. Sorry, I'm saying this wrong. They do the same damn things over and over. Like that, they follow that pattern, whether they're actually into it or not. I would love to be able to go and just play tennis every now and again, because I do like playing tennis. But you get my point, right? They follow that pattern because that's what you do when you're well off. Got to keep that appearance up. Yeah, thank you, Dim. That's a great analogy. Michael from GTA 5. Oh yeah, gotta have the Sunday football party, obviously. And yeah, someone in chat said this. Who said this? It was Raskor. The actually rich people, they do whatever the hell they want. Because they're actually rich. Let me share a quote from you. You can quote me on this because I'm quoting myself here. If you have time but not money, then what you do is you do what you want yourself. If you have money but not time, you pay someone else to do it. But if you're actually rich, in which case you have both time and money, you choose. You want to go out and build a fence? You can do that. You want to hire someone to build that fence for you? You can do that. That's what actually rich people do. Whatever the hell they want. I have painted fences before. Recently. The yard work has been proceeding apace. Which is good, because, you know, soon my availability to help her out is going to go down a little bit since I'm going to get back to streaming. Anyways. Rant off. What's a Tom Sawyer? I don't understand the context of this statement. Let's move on. What are we talking about next? Oh yeah, the SteamDeck. Right. So there's this thing called the SteamDeck, right? And that's the topic. That's the end of my show. Boop. Oh, absolutely hazardous. And I mean that sincerely. If everyone in the world, sorry, I'll get on to SteamDeck in just a second. If everyone in the world cared about money first and other things 2nd, 3rd, and 15th, the world would have nothing in it. We would have a chemical which we ingest or inject directly into ourselves to make ourselves happy, and that would be our downtime. And everything else would be devoted towards trying to, accumulate. Like you look at the Ferengi. No. The Ferengi are a parody. It gets worse from there. Anyways, so SteamDeck. I should have pulled out my Wii U for this. Where's my Wii U controller? Where is my Wii U controller? I'm not sure. I know where my Wii U is. It's right there. Pretend I have a Wii U controller in my hand. So it's a Steam Deck. You can tell I'm prepared for this. And it's like... let's go ahead and start... God, I don't even know where to start about this. Yeah, no kidding, Valerian. Dive. Why would you hide my controller? Let's go ahead and start with the obvious. I'm actually completely 100% in favor of this. The Steam Deck, I mean. Now, let's go down the specifics of this, shall we? First of all, portable PC gaming. Duh. I don't feel like I need to clarify on that. Now, that doesn't really affect me all that much because the overwhelming majority of games on there that I would, on Steam, that I would like to play portably, I have portably because I own a Switch. But that's because I own a Switch. It's not hard to imagine someone who doesn't, or who wants to be able to play games on PC just mobile or portably or chilling on the couch or whatever, right? This is not a hard concept, and so I'm in favor of it from that perspective. Next point. There's the fact that the controller actually has two things about it, which are pretty good ideas. In theory, I do have to add that proviso, because the only way we'll be able to know how well this works is in practice. Those two things are the things that Rax just said. Those two things are the touch pads for the thumbs, which will be like right about here, and the gyro controls. Right? So that gyro controls is mouse aiming, and this is mouse interacting, so you could, interact with the interface or whatever. So between those two things, it is possible, in theory, to be able to actually emulate mouse and keyboard well enough for, a decent number of games to be able to play on that. So that opens up the categories a little bit. Movement? What about movement, Micromono? I mean, there's still controllers. There's still the analogs and the buttons here and the buttons here. We do not, Metal Force. Unfortunately, I didn't actually want to talk about the Steam Deck this week because there's actually still a lot of question marks about it. For example, I can't even tell you the specifics about the dock yet because they haven't released them. We know there's going to be a dock, so you can hook up to a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor if you want to, but that's it. It has 4 triggers, I believe. Hang on, I was just looking at this. What do we got here? Yep, it has 4 triggers. It's got the R's, the R2s, which are the analogs, and then it's got 2 down here. So, 4 triggers. So, yeah, based on the general designs of this thing, that opens up platformers, action games, first-person shooters, strategy games, and RPGs. That's a pretty no, Klug. Ignoring the fact that, they themselves have said it's not. So no, Pika, to directly answer both of your questions. This is not a competitor for the Switch. What this is this is lowering the barrier to entry for PC gaming. Which brings me to the third reason I'm all in favor of this. This lowers the barrier to entry for PC gaming. Now, most of the people in my chat right now probably are well-versed and well-competent enough in PC gaming to not really think about it. I don't mean it like that. It's because... Could someone answer Kaon for me, please? It's... I'm trying to think of how to say this without sounding insulting. It probably doesn't occur to most people who are versed in PCs how much of a gargantuan it is to get into PC gaming. Really. So there's... buying, so let's say you want to buy a PC, for example. What do you buy? Now, let's assume you know basically nothing. And I know this because I know family members who are exactly in this exact same boat. Their general default response has been go to Best Buy or Walmart and buy whatever's there. Now, I probably shouldn't have to explain why that's an issue. Granted, prefabs have been getting a little bit better in recent years, but you get the problem, right? But of course, most, if they actually know geek friends, what do the geek friends say? Oh, just build your own. To which now they're staring at a whole other giant mess of... Or you could buy a SteamDeck. Just buy a SteamDeck. Because it is a mini computer. It's not even that mini of a computer. It's actually, I've looked at the specs. It is a decent computer. Someone earlier, I think it was Ashlam, was saying how it's too expensive. I disagree with that. I think this is extremely well priced. Hang on. Making sure I get my numbers right. Yep, $650. I was right. $650 for a good gaming PC is a joke. That's like half the price of what that should probably cost. Now, it's not going to be a super amazing whatever, but it is a gaming PC that you can just buy and be done with, right? It does also come with SteamOS, and as many people have already pointed out, that means you can custom load stuff onto it. So the people who do know what they're doing can put all sorts of things on this. I actually know a few people who are looking into grabbing this as a replacement for a RetroPie. You know, as a way to just have a mobile built-in screen, kind of a RetroPie sort of situation, right? Now, yes, I say Rax I know is in that boat, but I know several other people, you know, ex-tech geeks who are going to buy one of these for exactly that. Does it have video outputs? Yep. Now that's HDMI, but still, yeah, you can hook this thing up straight up to your monitor or TV or whatever. Like I said, it's a frickin' PC. It's just a PC you also have the ability to play in a handheld format. You see my point? This has drastically lowered, like just destroyed the barrier to entry for PC gaming. And I am 100% in favor of that. That's awesome. Probably still not going to buy one, but again, I own all the stuff, right? Like I have, you know, this giant screen and my nuclear submarine in the back there, which scored like 28,000 whatever on the FF14 benchmark. But I can absolutely see why a lot of people would want this. I'm still tempted, if I'm being completely honest with you. Because it's still something that I might still get usage out of. This is going to sound like the dumbest, most first world thing I've ever said. What I would probably do, the thing that most appeals to me about this, is the idea of playing a little bit of EU4, or say Stellaris. There's the music's playing right now. Just every now and again, right? I'm just going to chill for a minute before I go to bed. Let's play like an hour of a strategy game. Because for anybody who knows, strategy games are long, and those campaigns take days or weeks or months. But if I could just play a little bit of it every night, I would actually be able to go through that campaign and actually finish a match. I still, to this day, have never actually finished a match of Stellaris, to give you an example. You know, I could just fire up City Skylines, or Theme... what's it called? The new one, Theme... No, it's not Theme, it's the other one. 2 Point, that's it. 2 Point College, you know? That's just... That is kind of appealing to me by a baseline. Now, that doesn't really justify the price. But still. How do you finish a game in Stellaris? Well, you win or you lose. I suppose if you want to be technical, I have finished a game of Stellaris because I did lose a game of Stellaris. No, the sequel, Kaon, the sequel. Yeah, the Ottoman campaign, which I think I still have the save of, although that's like 3 expansions out of date at this point. By the way, for those curious, so I mentioned $650. That is the 512 gigabyte version, which has a few other things, including an anti-glare glass, carrying case, a bundle which doesn't matter, and a virtual keyboard theme which doesn't matter. The main thing you're getting with your 650 is the HD. The $530 one has a smaller HD and most of those benefits, and the $400 one has a 64 gigabyte HD. Yes, Blue of Alex, that is correct. Oh yeah, and I think this thing has OLED. I don't even remember because I don't actually care all that much, but I believe it has an OLED screen. So Knock Loose says, I want a gaming PC that doesn't break the bank. Might I recommend the SteamDeck? I shouldn't do that because it's not coming out until like next frickin'. Is it LED? I swear I saw someone saying it was OLED. I don't care, but I don't want to give bad information, so I don't know what the screen is because I don't care. And I'm trying to find... There was other information on this. I was trying to find... Here we go, here we go. What we got here? Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's just your Steam library. You can connect up. There's someone playing Disco Elysium. There's someone playing Control. Now that'll play like crap. Not because Control is a high demanding game, but because Control is incredibly badly optimized. I suppose I should mention this because I have a lot of international viewers. SteamDeck starts shipping December of this year to the US, Canada, the EU, and the UK. They are supposedly going to be releasing this to other regions. All they have in that for now is stay tuned. Battery life, 2 to 8 hours, depending on what you're doing. There's actually an interview about that I was reading, so I remember that piece of information. Yeah, Control is terribly optimized. Terribly optimized. That's why, if you've ever... Hey, there's some playing Jedi Fallen Order. If you've ever wondered why you have issues with Control, that's why. It's not that it's a very demanding game. Not the best battery life. Again, that doesn't really matter to me, but that is information that needs to be given. What else we got here? I feel like... Yep, here we go. So we've got blah, 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 blah. You can chat on Steam with it. It's Steam. It has Steam on it. So anything you can do on Steam, you can do on this thing. Thumbstick, trackpad, touchpad. It does have a port for plugging a keyboard in. I think I mentioned that earlier. What do we got here? Blah, 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 blah. New version of SteamOS, built with the Steam Deck in mind, because Linux. Reservation. Oh yeah, by the way, to reserve it, it's $5. Again, just trying to get information out there. Here we go. This is what I was actually looking for earlier. Okay, so we've got... oh yeah, there is a built-in mic, by the way. So we've got a D-pad, a select button, a start button, the 2 trackpad buttons. There's a Steam button. 2 speakers are on the front, 2 mics are on the front, analogs, the touchpads. There's a volume control. There's a status LED. There is a Type-C port and a headphone jack, obviously. Power button, fan is on the top and the back. There are the other R's and L buttons. Whole bunch of hardware. Here, I'll actually just link this. This is just the straight up hardware stats for anybody who is interested. Comes with a micro SD. So that's... I don't know. Like, hypothetically, that would mean you could increase the hard drive space, but I don't know because, again, there's not a lot of information about this. If anybody knows about this, feel free to jump in. And here's what little information we have about the dock, which is the USB-C cable. That's what actually connects to the Steam Deck. It's got a DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI only 2.0, but whatever. Power, Ethernet cable for internet, for wired internet, a USB 3.1 and 2 USB 2.0s on it. So several people have pointed out that this that this may or may not have workshop and mods. Based on everything I've seen, this is speculative. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to use mods on this. For the same reason you could use mods on Steam, right? It's the same thing, right? You go to the workshop. That's right there. You just hit the button and you go to the workshop, and there you go. There's your mods. Now, that is speculative. I haven't seen anything confirming or denying that. But I can't imagine they don't have workshop support. Either way, this, I'm kind of talking myself into buying one of these. This is kind of awesome, in all honesty. It feels like, so let me get my summary here. Steam has tried a lot of hardware things over the years, and they've all kind of sucked, to be blunt. It feels like this is finally them hitting the bullseye, to me. It feels like they finally landed on something that will actually work, and is actually good for a large number of people, for reasons I've already outlined. So I am actually hopeful that this will turn into some good stuff, and that some people will be able to enjoy gaming, enjoy PC gaming as a consequence of this. Again, if nothing else, even if you want to play PC gaming, you could just hook this thing up into the dock, plug it into your monitor, mouse, and keyboard, and play like it was a laptop, right? Thank you, Subicom. As always. Much appreciated. Lufia 1. Who's my favorite Twitch streamer? Parseeska. That's Parcisca. Will this give Nintendo a kick in their complacency? No. As I said before, they've literally said in interviews, we are not competing with the Switch, and they're not. This is not competing with the Switch. This is a mobile PC. This is... Let me tell you what this actually is. This is laptop 2.0. Think about it. This is a modified laptop. I'm with it, but that is what this is. So, anyways. I don't have anything else to share. Generally positive. Moving on. What's our next topic? Black Widow. Is that it? Yep, that's it. I say, what's it? I've been talking for an hour. So, I'm going to go and throw this up early. It's already being scalped, Pika. If you see it on eBay, it's already being scalped. Don't buy a scalped version. Reserve your own. Anybody who's buying this on eBay is a moron. Anybody who's selling this on eBay needs to be shot. So I saw Black Widow last Tuesday. We're going to do a little stream discussing it. If anybody doesn't want spoilers, this would be the time to leave. Spoilers. It has Black Widow in it. Spoilers. But I'll give you all a little bit, because we're still kind of winding down from the SteamDeck topic. I mean, I think Black Widow should have happened after Civil War. IMO. Of course there will, Dream Whisper. Why wouldn't there be? I don't know when, because I have no idea how long we're going to be talking about this. Just waiting a little moment. I'm still debating if I'm going to go ahead and reserve one of these dumb things. Like, this is going to sound so stupid, but one thing that's happened a lot in my life is I've looked at something like, I might use that someday. Fast forward 2 years. Oh man, I really have a sudden use for something. Oh, but I can't get a hold of it because, time and availability. That's happened a lot in my life. Actually, that's not true. What's happened more often in my life is, I wish I could get such and such, but I can't afford it. Later on, hey, I have money now, but now it's more expensive. Anyways, thank you, Omni. Always appreciate. Oh yeah, speaking of which, Warframe now has full everything crossplay, apparently. Do you know that? No, seriously. Apparently, like, even if you're playing on the phone... By the way, how do you play Warframe on the phone? You can group with other people. Yeah, from other platforms, is what I mean. What is it? It's like PS4, Xbox, Switch, phone, and PC, I think is the full array there. Also known as everything. I assume Digital Extremes is the Warframe devs, because they are awesome, yeah. I wish I liked their game more. I'll never play it at this point, unless you pay me to, but, yeah. Sorry, doing something real quick. Give me a sec. After this, I'll go back. Oh yeah, Rebecca's legit. Ignoring her story relevance, she is legit. There we go. Cool. Okay. Done. So, let's go ahead and talk about Black Widow now that that's done. This is your last chance for spoilers. Black Widow dies in Infinity War. Alright, so... I'm going to go ahead and start by saying that my biggest complaint about the movie is the same complaint I have about several other movies in the MCU. They don't connect enough. Now, I know that sounds weird, because the MCU's whole thing is internal continuity. But I mean that sincerely. It's like... Okay, so Steve Rogers is on the run. And we do know that at some point Rogers links up with her because the two of them are working together in Infinity War. And Rogers rescued everybody who wanted to be rescued from the raft. So where the heck is Rogers? Now, I'm not saying that Rogers needs to be the main character of the Black Widow film, but he has literally zero presence in the entire film. Fun story. At the very end of the bit where, the Red Room is collapsing and they're sitting there on the ground, and what looks a hell of a lot like a Quinjet comes in and flies in, I actually said, without meaning to, like an instinctual response, oh, finally, because I thought it was Rogers. And this is going to be how it shows the two of them hooking up. No, it was just the other widows coming back. But, okay. I know that's a petty complaint, but if I'm being honest, I don't have many complaints about that film. So make of that what you will. Unlike the Loki show, which sucks, but anyways. So, the other thing that bothered me, and I know that this can be explained, this is one of those hoops situations. The other thing that bothered me is there's this super dangerous infiltrating an organization, which has infiltrated every government in the world, is behind everything, and we've never even heard a hint of it in the entirety of forever. I know they've mentioned the Red Room as part of her backstory, as part of Widow's backstory, but the fact that they are a currently active organization and there is zero hint of that... Now, yes, we can explain that away, but the reason it bothers me is because, not from in-character perspective, don't think of it from an in-character perspective. Remove the narrative for a second, and think of it from an out-of-character perspective, because what this is a retcon. Whenever a movie or a show or a book or a game does a prequel or a midquel, what they do is they're like, okay, well, we need to show something that was never there, so we have to invent something new. But wait, says the moviegoers, or the movie makers, we need to make it big, because the only way for anybody to actually feel like there is something of substance here is to go big. And I think this is the biggest flaw they had with the Red Room, is they tried to make them this global organization, and I think that was absolutely the wrong approach. This should have been a very personal story. Actually, no, this was a very personal story. Trying to make the stakes this global infiltrating organization of death completely detracts from that for me. Because the only reason they did that was so that the stakes would be big. even though they had to retcon to do that. You see my point? This is an extremely common problem. Oh yeah, there was always this thing here that you'd never had, that you've never seen before, you've never heard of before, and will never be mentioned again, but they were always a big problem. This is really common, and it bugs the crap out of me. Yeah, it is bad writing, to be blunt. That being said, those are my only two real complaints about the overall work. I mean, I could nitpick. I could be like... But, yeah, the Spore Drive. I wasn't even going to bring up Star Trek Discovery, but Star Trek Discovery is a really good example of this whole universe ending. We need to save the galaxy threats before TOS ever even came out, but you've never heard of it before or since. Anyways, like I said, this is a really common problem in fiction. Oh yeah, and Taskmaster. Now, this is a weird one, because on the one hand, I really liked... How do I phrase this? I feel like... how many of you have seen Batman vs. Superman, or Batman v Superman, whatever the hell it's actually called? I suppose I should raise my hand. Bonus question. How many of you liked Batman vs. Superman? Now I'm going to keep my hand raised, which I know puts me on an outlier, and that's fine. But I'm going to keep my hand up here. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on that. We've talked about that film before. The reason I mentioned this is because I really liked Jesse Eisenberg's character in that film. You notice how I said that? Because he wasn't Lex Luthor. But I liked his character. He was an I mean, I like Jesse Eisenberg in general, so that helps. But I think the villain he played was actually pretty good and pretty interesting and pretty engaging. It just wasn't Lex, right? That's the problem. I usually think of him as the Riddler, Sean, but yeah, I could see that too. That's my thoughts on the Taskmaster, to put it simply. Taskmaster, I like what they did with the character that she was. She was directly tied into Black Widow's story, and the one, red mark that's still on her ledger. She ties into the nature of the horror, the personal horror of what the Red Room is and what it does to people. And she's a perfect demonstrative of the type of villain that, I forget his name is. The villain, the dude. Because he, without hesitation and without remorse, did this to his own daughter. Which is it's an establishing point, right? So that's good. That's awesome. That's horrifying, right? But that's not Taskmaster. That actually has nothing to do with Taskmaster. And so you see why I compare this to the Lex from BVS. And it's true. The one thing that MCU has done before is that this is not the Taskmaster or whatever. We'll see. We'll see. I do think that the Taskmaster is certainly better than this and certainly deserves better than this because, duh. But we'll see. All right, so now that I've gotten the flaws out of the way, we've talked about the negatives. Scarlett Johansson is a very good actress. She's not like the best actress ever. I can think of better. But she's definitely in the upper, middle, lower, high tier of class, I would say. And I think she did an excellent job with this one because not only does she manage to play Widow, she plays the Black Widow, the woman who is completely on top of things and manages to adapt her way through things and keep other people, on their toes and manipulate people just by talking to them. All of that shtick, right? But she manages to portray a very vulnerable human quality almost the entire time, right? There's a part which is mostly being played for humor, where Widow is like, all right, here's how this is going to go down, and then she gets interrupted. And she's like, okay, this is how this is going to go down, and then she gets interrupted. And while the scene is overall humorous, it's also very touching in its own way, because it's so wonderfully human. What we're seeing is a family arguing and yelling and talking over the Thanksgiving table, right? With everything that implies. That's a great scene, by the way. It might actually be my favorite scene in the whole film. the family table scene, because whoa, because again, it was just everyone nailed it. Can I just say, all four of them, I should say, all four of them were fantastic. The Red Guardian, who's struggling with the very idea of being a person. Yeah, no kidding, Rex. Yeah, Yelena, I can't remember the actress who plays Yelena, but she does a wonderful job of the I have a mask on 90% of the time because I went through trauma so terrible that I can't process it. Like, she does an excellent job of that. Yeah, he had Karl Marx tattooed onto his fingers. I noticed that almost immediately, and I just started laughing, and Sis is like, what? And I'm like, hey, I'll tell you later. Quick aside. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Never mind. Delete. Undo. Control Z. There we go. What else? Okay, so I can't remember the actress's name. She's from the Mummy series. The woman who played the mother. What I find most interesting about her is that she is someone who I've talked about recently. How do I phrase this? Someone asked me recently how corporate executives can make scummy decisions without being terrible people. She's how. That's how that happens in real life. Can I just mention, by the way, that I will probably not rewatch this movie, despite how much it's good and despite how much I liked it, because it was a little bit too real at times. And that's saying something for a film which has a stupid amount of explosions and people surviving stunts they shouldn't and mind control erasing gas. But it was a little bit too real at several points throughout, and it was like, ooh, little too much, a little too close. Because people like her are exactly the kind of people who are why terrible things happen in real life. No, really. People who just kind of go along with it because they're just keeping their head down, and it's not like they can change anything anyways, and it's not like they have any reason to push against it. This is just a paycheck for them. This is a 9 to 5. So you don't think about it. You don't really process it. You don't really deal with it. You just do your job. Yeah, child trafficking and the family stuff and just, oh, yeah. No. I do like to think that... I suddenly can't think of her name. Yelena. I do like to think that Yelena managed to get out with that information and either by herself or with her contacts free the remainder of the Black Widow program. Maybe that's just me being idealistic and desperately needing that, but whatever, I don't care. If I can say something really strange here, though. When we walked in, every review I had seen about the film, all non-spoilers, obviously, all said the same thing. This film sucks. This film is crap. This film is terrible. Now, I think, if I might be so bold, we're at the point officially, now we've been at the point for a few years now, really, but I think we're officially at the point where it's popular to bash on the MCU. Because that's how that works. If something is hated when it comes out, after a few years, it becomes more popular to like it. And if something is beloved when it comes out, after a few years, it becomes more popular to dislike it. This is very common. This happens for everything. Just look at how people talk about the prequel films for Star Wars, to use a good example of this. So I took all those opinions and threw them out the window because they were all garbage. But I think I can see why... Really, Rex? I can see why some people wouldn't actually like this. And it's because it's 3 films in one. Now, it does a decent job of segueing between the 3, but not great, if I might be so bold. And I think if I was to zoom the camera out, I think that's the biggest flaw the film has overall. It's 3 films. It's a very well done, deeply personal character piece. Nails that, if I might be so bold. Just absolutely nails that. It's a Bond film. Does a really good job of that, too. Not the greatest, but it is a good Bond film. What's his face? I still can't think of his name. The villain was a Bond villain, straight up. And the nature of the heisting and how the very structure of how they would be like, they would mislead you by showing you something, and then they'd go through with it, and then there'd be like oh, it's actually her instead, and then they would explain the plan after the plan's already happened. That is classic Bond approach right there, right? Then there's the third film, and that's a mindless action flick. That is, I think, the worst of the three functions. And honestly, I feel like that probably shouldn't have even been in the film. But as we already mentioned, they need to go big and they need to go loud. And so the action stuff was almost assuredly mandatory. I mean, I like a good mindless action film, but there is still an art and craft to making something like that. And this didn't have it, you know what I mean? Okay. Are you doing anything interesting or fun with it? No. Yeah, Mad Max is a great example of how you can put art and craft into a big mindless act. I shouldn't say that mindless, but, you know, big action film, right? There are several Fast and the Furious films which would qualify. I would also put the Expendables 2, specifically 2, would fall in that category, you know? But this is not that. Anyways, let's zoom in a little bit here. So, that's a good question, Javin. I don't know. All of it? No, I'm kidding. I don't think it's all of it. I can't tell. Most of the stuff I've observed that happening have happened since I was already, you know, an adult. The Rock. Actually, yeah, The Rock is a good example of a mindless action film. Really. It's probably Michael Bay's best film overall. Yeah, so I suppose we should go ahead and hit the big thing first. I was going to go through the film, but honestly, let's just go and talk about the big thing. Let's talk about the post-credits scene. Now, everybody knows that this was actually not supposed to go live after Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this is when I have to mention that spoilers for Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So spoilers for another show. And I mention that because, for example, my sister and her husband have not actually seen Captain America and the... Is there a... The Winter... God, I'm actually saying the wrong name, aren't I? What's the name of that stupid show? Bucky and Falcon. Okay? The Bucky and Falcon show. All right, so I know several people. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Thank you. I've seen. I keep saying Captain. You can probably understand why I was saying Captain. Spoilers. Yeah, that's I'm sorry. That is literally a spoiler that I didn't intend to give. I'm sorry. Because it really is. I mean, at this point, the cat's out of the bag. It really is Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I just was thinking of the show, not the movie. Anyways, spoilers for the show. Anyway, so, what the hell's her damn name? I can't even think of it. The Contessa, right? Now, anybody who knows this knows the Contessa is actually a regular character from the comics who is basically another Fury type character. She's, you know, big spy, fingers in a lot of pots, that kind of thing. It also feels to me like they're trying to make their own version of the Avengers. Not necessarily the bad Avengers. There are the... I suddenly can't think of their name. There's the other Avengers... Like the sub-Avengers. There's a term, but I can't think of it. Yeah, there's the Dark Avengers. Thunderbolts, thank you. It seems clear that she's making an equivalent situation here. Because she's already got a Captain America... Well, she's already got a Super Soldier guy. Spoilers. And that's where the show comes in. And she's now has her own Black Widow. Now, I'm not sure where she could get a wandering deity who would be involved. I mean, that would obviously be Loki, but I don't want to spoil Loki because that just came out, what, like 3 days ago? We're not going to talk about Loki. I do not like that show. But, yeah, I noticed the Abomination's going to be in Shang-Chi, so I'm not sure what to think about that. You get my point. It feels like this is the... So, okay, sorry. I actually have to spoil Loki, don't I? So we've given 2 spoiler warnings so far. This is the MCU. I have to give spoiler warnings for everything. Spoilers for Loki. I can't keep talking about this without spoiling Loki. So, we now are at the point of spoilers for the movie, spoilers for the Falcon show, and spoilers for the Loki show, okay? Now, I'm going to wait a minute before I dive into this to give people the chance to bow out if they want to. Yeah, because I don't want to spoil a show that came out 3 days ago, right? I think it's 3 days ago. 4 days ago? I don't know, something like that. While we wait on that spoiler, let's see, is there anything else I wanted to discuss? Let's talk about the dad. The dad was interesting because the dad is someone who was written to be terrible, and then the actor disagreed. I do like that actor, by the way, he's a good actor. And he decided, no, I need to have a core nugget of decency to me, because otherwise I'm just going to be the comic relief who's technically a terrible person. I believe the term Ferengi was thrown around. So, you know that bit where he remembers Yelena's favorite song and starts singing it? That was his idea, for example. Yeah, Tara Strong was in Loki. That is correct. That's interesting. I do like that. I do like the inclusion of that little nugget of goodness in him, because what it indicates is that he, just as much as the rest of them, were all victims. This is, if there's a single biggest theme about the Black Widow film, it is victims and victimization. Obviously, Scarlett Johansson... I can't think of her character name all of a sudden. Natasha Romanoff, is obviously a victim. Duh. We've known that for forever. At the very least since Avengers. But what we see there is all of them were victims in one way or another. Now, most of those victimizations were obvious. We have the woman who was just doing her job, the 9-to-5er. That's the mother, as I already mentioned. We have Scarlett Johansson, Natasha, duh. Yelena, yeah, well, Yelena was much worse of a victim. Younger, far more emotionally damaged, far more brainwashed, chemically controlled. But then we have the guy. And I mention this, the dad, because he's probably the most subtle victim of them all. And the one that you would least sympathize with, because he's kind of along with it, right? And he is a victim of, let's just put it the simply as we can, he's a victim of propaganda. The Red Guardian was built to be a symbol of his country. And then, pretty much immediately after starting his career, was thrown in prison for 20 years by virtue of being someone who was, we don't want to look at you. We don't want to deal with you. Go away. No room for development. No connections or abilities or anything like that. He's just, yeah, he was straight up messed up. Now, I bring this up because if the actor hadn't added those moments of little extra nuggets of goodness and decency in him, the human elements of him, then he would just be another cog in the machine. But by adding that, he then drifts into becoming a victim. Honestly, I think John Walker also qualifies in almost the exact same manner, by the way. Really. What we have in him is someone, and I know this is a common thing I point out in fiction, the Red Guardian didn't know how to be human. He didn't know how to be a husband, he didn't know how to be a father, he didn't know how to be a friend. All he knew how to be was the Red Guardian, the symbol. And I think that as minor as it was, his bumbling into that throughout the course of the film was actually pretty awesome. It's easily the 4th most awesome character development of the whole film, but I wanted to point it out because everyone I've seen talk about the film has talked about the other 3 and not his arc. She's got to pose. She's got to do the pose. Apparently, that was Yelena's actress's idea, by the way, was making fun of that. I haven't read up on that one, though. Well, that's because John Walker... yeah. Anyways. I will be honest, though. My heart just ran out. I wanted to hug those poor people. Especially Yelena. I did catch the vest. How many of you caught immediately that was the vest from Infinity War? Just curious. I did. I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. That makes sense. First scene. And then they even have a scene where they talk about, it's a nice fit. It's got all these pockets, it's great. And little moments like that are, again, what I think the film did best. The little human moments. The little connecting points. It has so many pockets, it's great. I liked the I can't think of his name. The guy, the connection guy, the guy who gets things. The guy who got them the helicopter. The guy. Oh yeah, by the way. I don't know, we're kind of low on gas. Oh no, we'll make it there. Okay. that got me. That was great. Sorry, that's probably the funniest moment of the whole film for me. God, I could just sit down and go through. I'm not actually doing a rumination here, obviously. Nothing, Zach Taft. He's a perfect guy. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me, Mr. Walker. Please. No, I agree with what Rax said. John Walker is a good soldier and a bad person. Except I think he didn't say that. But still, that's my take. That's my take on John Walker. He is a good soldier. But Captain America was never a soldier. He was the captain. Anyways, I think we've given enough time now. Let's go ahead and spoil Loki. Spoilers! It was Kang! Oh, we all called it. No, it's kind of Kang. It's sort of Kang. Like, it's complicated. Alright. The reason I needed to bring up Loki was because Loki rather firmly established that as of now, gotta put that in quotes because of the nature of this, we now have not only a multiverse, which we've always had, but we have a multiverse which is now running rampant and unchecked. Timeline branches are happening all over the place, and just branching, and branching, and branching. Agreed, Sierra Mike. That's the kind of person I want in my army. So, that sucks. But the reason I... Sorry. Let me rewind that. Delete. That's a thing that happened. The relevant point here is that or I still can't think of the name of the show. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. That or the Bucky and Falcon show and Black Widow have established two possible large-scale threads for the MCU going forwards. Now, I mention this because the MCU has gone through 3 iterations so far, in my opinion. Speaking as someone who's actually analyzed and discussed the film so far. First iteration, we have no idea what we're doing, and we're just making another superhero film. That's the easiest to explain, because that's what happened. Then, oh my god, these are really good. You know what we could do? And then they built up to the Avengers, right? Post-Avengers, it was about Thanos. Avengers, kind of accidentally and as mostly an Easter egg, established Thanos and retroactively connected him to some of the events of the previous films. From that until Endgame was the Infinity Saga, right? I think we could pretty much definitively say that was the Infinity Saga, and that saga has now concluded. That then leads into the third phase of, making tons and tons of shows, but what they have now is the opportunity to either make a new major large-scale story arc, like the Thanos thing, or don't, and instead have multiple concurrent story arcs going forwards. And that's the biggest reason why I wanted to spoil Loki, is because Loki establishes a major, long-term story arc. the multiverse. And, of course, Kang, who we know is going to be in I forget what. And between the Bucky and Falcon show and Black Widow, we have now established another large-scale, obviously being built up, story arc. The Thunderbolts, or whatever they're going to end up actually being. And I should probably mention that, unless my timing is wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong on this, the next MCU thing coming out is the... I can't think of his name. The Hawkeye show. Oh, apparently What If is predating the Hawkeye show. Never mind. Is it? I thought Hawkeye was next. Hang on, I guess I can just look it up. I got Google. I got this. So, let's see here. Hawkeye is going live... Give me a date. It doesn't say. There's no date. And What If... is going live in August. Still no date. So yeah, you're right. What If will actually predate it. So this is just making my point for me the more I'm looking at this, because What If is following through on the multiverse thread, and Hawkeye is following through on the Thunderbolts thread. I'm just going to call it the Thunderbolts thread. Then we have Shang-Chi, which is coming out at some point. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. I apologize if I am. That's coming out, looks like September? Yep. So that'll be later this year, obviously. I have no idea which thread that's going to follow. I do like the fact that they got Tony, I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, as Mandarin. Because he's a good actor. He's done some good stuff. And yeah, then we got the Eternals. That's probably going to be multiverse territory, if we're being honest with ourselves. And then, of course, we have Ant-Man 3... which is the Quantumania. That's I couldn't remember what it was. Which is forever from now. Who knows when that's going to come out? Oh wow! By the way, if you don't want spoilers to Loki, don't Google Ant-Man and the Wasp. Spoilers for the final episode of Loki right there on the cast page. Jesus. But yeah, so the Eternals. So this, sorry, yeah, the other thing I was going to mention, the Eternals is almost assuredly going to be part of the multiverse thread. Because that would explain why the Eternals are now getting involved when nothing else did, right? End of half the universe, don't care. That's small potatoes. And the massive alien invasion and destruction of the planet, no. But hang on, multiverse? Suddenly running completely rampant and out of control? And yeah, we've also got Doctor Strange before that, I think. Hang on. Oh, I know, Michael, but they didn't... Okay, so since we're already in spoiler territories, Jonathan Majors playing Kang the Conqueror, a time-traveling, multiversal adversary who is the alternate variant of the Loki character He Who Remains, the creator of the Time Variance Authority. That's a hell of a spoiler. No, Stan Lee was not in Black Widow. Yeah, that's not... here's an actor playing a... No, that is straight up spoilers. Okay, apparently Doctor Strange 2 is next year. Got it. I was wondering. So that means Eternals will be before Doctor Strange 2, which is interesting. I will say, I mean, duh, really. I'm pretty sure that at least some of these are coming out of order, ignoring the fact that we know with total certainty that Black Widow came out of order. Because COVID threw everything for a loop. Like Hollywood was hit actually pretty badly by COVID. We talked about this before. So I'm pretty sure that at least some of these are coming out in kind of a weird order as a consequence. I mean, if they do a Thunderbolts movie, they should, Zactaf, but I wouldn't. I'd keep him in the shows. And yeah, then we got Spider-Man and the multiverse thing, which is also totally gonna be, you know, the multiverse arc. Zero interest. Anyway, sorry. Don't mind me. I didn't like what they did with the Loki thing. I really didn't. I mean, I don't like multiverses in general, but what they're doing with the multiverse is pretty much the definition of what I don't like about multiverse stories. Sorry, one second. I'm looking up a couple of things, because we've got Thor Love and Thunder. That's the other one I wanted to look up. No Way Home. And where's the... Hello. Apparently those She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Miss Marvel are way out at this point. Anyways, Thor: Love and Thunder is set for early next year. That's interesting. Christian Bale is playing Gore, the God Butcher, in it. Spider-Man is at the end of this year. That's going to be our Christmas release. That one... I mean, we've known that's a multiversal story for months now. So... Again, probably following the multiversal thread. This will also... I didn't even actually know this. So, obviously... Sorry, I didn't know that either. So, Jamie Foxx is returning as Electro. I mean, again, multiverse. Doctor Strange is the second thing I didn't know was going to be in it. But the third one I didn't know was they're actually bringing in Alfred Molina, who is an awesome actor, by the way. Alfred Molina is one of those actors that I love, but they're not in a lot of things. But every time they're in something, they're just amazing. He's playing Doc Ock, obviously. No comment, Michael. No comment. I'm reading. Hang on. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, Rax. Apparently he will not be blue. Die. That's from last year's, the Jamie Foxx thing. The Alfred Molina thing is from April of this year. That's all I got here. I mean, obviously we have the MCU's Spider-Man characters returning, but the only two that are listed on the cast page are Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx. They'd probably try to copy him, Zach Ted, let's be honest with ourselves. Oh yeah, Deadpool, that was the other one I was going to look up. I didn't even see that. Let's see, is Deadpool even on this list? Nope. Let's just look it up. Deadpool 3 confirmed, January of this year. Apparently, during an interview with Kevin Feige, he did confirm that Deadpool 3A will begin filming and B will be part of the MCU. But yeah, there's like a lack of information on Deadpool 3, which makes sense. So Deadpool 3 will not begin filming this year. There you go. That's pretty much all you need to know about that one. Hopefully it'll still be very Deadpool. You know, that would probably work, Plutonia, in all sincerity. I'm looking forward to... They're making a Matrix 4? Why? Oh, God, and it's being made by the Wachowskis, too. Look, I'm sorry, the Wachowskis are not good filmmakers. I'm sorry. I've seen everything they've done other than the one film they did that I liked, which they ripped off from someone else. I might have mentioned this and just forgotten it, that is very possible. We're not getting Joe Pantoliano in it. Joe Pantoliano is another one of those, not in a lot of things, but he's awesome actors. He played Cypher, the traitor, in the first film, if you don't know the name. And he's awesome. Again, he's one of those actors I love every time I see him. I guess Cloud Atlas was okay. Although, again, that's not their work. So I suppose I should walk my statement back. The Wachowskis don't make good films of their original works. When they're making a film based on something else, it's okay. Have they done anything else I've liked? I'm looking at this now. By the way, I have seen Jupiter Ascending before someone asks about that. Yeah, no, not really. Okay, moving on. Oh, that's a great scene, Ross. Absolutely. Then we have a deal. Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne later announced he was not asked to reprise his role as Morpheus. Who is? So we do have Keanu Reeves. Duh. Carrie-Anne Moss is confirmed. Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm just gonna stutter over her name here. Is confirmed. Lambert Wilson is confirmed. That's the Merovingian. And Daniel Bernhardt is confirmed. Interesting. He's the generic agent, Agent Johnson. In the second film. Yeah, Jupiter Ascending is Jupiter Ascending. That's a good way to put that. No, Zach Teft, no. She's dead. Leave her dead. We're done. Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't try to get Morpheus back. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne is pretty awesome in his own right. I know he's kind of busy with the stutter. And now I can't think of the name of it. The other film series that stars Keanu Reeves. John Wick. There we go. Got it. I got it before anybody said it. Just barely. I just got in there. At the same time, that argument doesn't work because obviously Keanu Reeves is busy with John Wick, right? So, why? That being said, did you see John Wick 4 does have what's-his-face confirmed for it, which is awesome. Another of those actors I really love and everything he's in. Just keep hitting that note today. I should probably look up his name so I don't leave people with that. John Wick 4. Lance Reddick. Lance Reddick. He's an awesome actor. He's primarily a television actor. He's been kind of drifting out of that. Most of you probably know him from Horizon Zero Dawn as the voice actor for Silence. He was also in Quantum Break, and he was awesome there, too. He's also in Destiny 2 as Commander Zavala. He apparently is in the Castlevania anime. I didn't know that. He's... what? No. Netflix is doing a Resident Evil show. We knew that. Albert Wesker is being played by Lance Reddick. I am super in favor of that. He would be an awesome Wesker. He would be an awesome Wesker. I am all in favor of that. He apparently also played General Lunaris in the recent DuckTales. I need to watch that DuckTales. I still haven't seen it. Anyways, yeah, so Black Widow. Hey, Black Widow. No. I've kind of said all I wanted to say. The movie was good. I do think it was 2/3 of an excellent movie and 1/3 of a subpar movie, to put bluntly. And I don't really have much else to add to that. I will say this. I'm probably going to just kind of quietly walk away from the multiverse story arc and just stop following it. I just have no interest. I'm sorry. It's like doing a story based on... Wow, there's not a lot of fiction that I don't like now that I'm thinking about it. It's like doing a documentary on black licorice. I don't care how good the documentary is, you're doing a documentary on black licorice. You know? It's like, okay. Now, I'm not completely walking away. Obviously, I will keep my ear to the ground. I did that for Loki, after all. But, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what they do with it. I'm far more interested in the Thunderbolts story arc that they are starting and are continuing. And so, of the upcoming shows, Hawkeye has my interest a lot more than What If. I was interested in What If, but that was as an Elseworlds thing. Now it looks a little bit more like What If is more like the other story, right? The multiverse story. So it looks like that's actually going to be tied into that. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and destroy half of reality. Well, I shouldn't do that. Should I? I mean, it would bring these things. Oh, you know it, Jobbin. On the Switch, of course. It's on my list of games. So I haven't played... Hang on. Let me chop off the local recording.